Last week, a surprising rumor made waves around the Cincinnati Bengals, talk of the team being linked to none other than Russell Wilson. And this wasn't just random fan chatter. NFL insider Mike Florio mentioned that there was real discussion, at least at some level, about the idea of Wilson landing in Cincinnati for something as low as a fifth-round pick. Now, whether or not that trade was ever serious is up for debate, but here's the intriguing part. Both sides reportedly showed interest, yet neither wanted to make the first move. In the world of football negotiations, that hesitation can set the tone. The moment one side steps forward, the price and value of the deal start to take shape. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. So, Bengals fans, the question is simple. Should Cincinnati really consider a veteran like Wilson as insurance, or is it smarter to stick with what they already have and focus on the future? Here's the reality of this rumor. Both the Bengals and Russell Wilson's camp seem hesitant to make the first move. And that hesitation matters. In football trades, the side that speaks up first often ends up setting the price, and sometimes losing leverage. That's exactly what's happening here. Cincinnati might see Wilson as a potential bargain, but they don't want to be the team to raise their hand first. On the flip side, Wilson's side doesn't want to look desperate either. So, what you get is a stalemate, both sides circling the idea, either willing to commit. If this ever moved forward, the value being tossed around is a fifth-round pick. That's the type of price you'd expect for a veteran quarterback nearing the later stages of his career. And that's why the conversation also drags in names like Jameis Winston, another quarterback who could be available for that kind of draft compensation. For the Bengals, it comes down to one question: is giving up a fifth-rounder for a veteran arm worth it? Or does holding on to that draft capital make more sense for the future of this roster? Here's the tricky part. The Bengals don't exactly have much leverage in this situation. The quarterback market isn't deep right now, and both Cincinnati and the Giants know it. The Bengals can't really play hardball because, outside of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, there just aren't many realistic veteran options available. And from the Giants' perspective, their situation adds another layer. They just rolled the dice on rookie Jackson Dart. He had a great debut against the Chargers, and that's encouraging. But then they immediately suffered a massive blow, losing Malik Nabers for the season. That changes everything. Suddenly, the Giants need depth at quarterback more than ever, because if Dart struggles or even gets hurt, they'll need a steady veteran presence to turn to. That's where things get complicated. The Giants don't want to ship Wilson away unless they're absolutely confident in Dart and Winston. Meanwhile, the Bengals are looking at their own quarterback room and asking, do we have enough insurance behind Joe Burrow? A fifth-round pick feels like a fair price for a proven veteran, but pulling the trigger would go against Cincinnati's usual philosophy. And that's important to remember. The Bengals are a proud organization. They don't like to look desperate. They rarely make splash trades, and when they do, it's usually something like the B.J. Hill for Billy Price swap, where they feel like they're getting maximum value. To go out and acquire a high-profile name like Russell Wilson? That would be a major departure from how they usually operate. So right now, it's a game of patience. The Bengals don't want to appear weak, the Giants don't want to lose depth, and both sides know they're staring at each other, waiting for someone to blink first. Here's where my personal opinion comes in on this whole Russell Wilson situation, and honestly, it might sound controversial. I don't think Zac Taylor is pushing for Wilson, Winston, or any other veteran quarterback because of one reason: Jake Browning. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think Taylor views Browning as the best option. But Browning fits a role that's convenient for the head coach. He doesn't challenge authority, he doesn't make noise in the media, and he's not the type to call out the coaching staff. In other words, Browning is the perfect fallback guy, a quarterback Taylor can control without worrying about headlines or locker room drama. Contrast that with someone like Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. Both are vocal players, both have strong personalities, and both would bring attention, and potentially pressure, to Zac Taylor's leadership. If Wilson comes in and plays well, suddenly the narrative shifts. Why didn't the Bengals make this move sooner? Why were they wasting time with Browning? That kind of spotlight could put Taylor in a tough position. And here's the bold part. It almost feels like Taylor is more comfortable riding things out with Browning, even if it means the Bengals struggle. Why? Because failure with Browning can be spun as We had no other choice. A built-in excuse. Success with Wilson, on the other hand, could expose Taylor's decision-making and put his job security at risk. It's a risky game. Some would even argue Taylor would rather lose with Browning than win with a quarterback who might undermine his control. And if that's true, it says a lot about how the Bengals' leadership values stability and ego over taking bold chances to compete right now. If the Bengals don't succeed this year with Jake Browning under center, Zach Taylor can always fall back on one excuse. I didn't have my quarterback. That narrative protects him. The blame shifts away from coaching and lands on the fact that Burrow was out and the team had to rely on a backup. But imagine the opposite scenario. Let's say Cincinnati actually brings in Russell Wilson, and Wilson plays well enough to show he still has something left in the tank. If the offense still looks flat, if the play calling still feels predictable, then the spotlight isn't on the quarterback anymore, it's squarely on Zach Taylor. Suddenly, the conversation becomes, the Bengals had a proven veteran and still couldn't get it done. That's no longer a roster issue, that's a coaching issue. And that's where the danger lies for Taylor. Because if Wilson proves he can still make plays, it exposes whether the Bengals' struggles are really about personnel, or about the man calling the shots. Taylor knows that risk. He knows that bringing in a strong personality like Wilson, or even Winston, could quickly reveal cracks in his own system. So, here's the controversial take. Taylor's safest play might actually be sticking with Browning, even if it means a rough season. That way, failure can be explained away, and his job security stays intact. Success with Wilson could mean exposing his weaknesses. Failure with Wilson could mean exposing his weaknesses. But failure with Browning? That's survivable. I'm not saying Zach Taylor wants the Bengals to lose. But I do think he values his position enough to play it safe, even if playing it safe keeps this team from reaching its true potential. And that's the frustrating part for fans. Because when a coach is more focused on survival than on winning, the entire franchise ends up paying the price.